On the last part, we move into the USJ arc where the League of Villains attack Class 1A as well as All Might. So Trunks ends up being together with Midoriya and Sui in the flooded zone, and with Trunks there, all the villains are basically completely eliminated. So we move over to the Wasteland zone, where Goten is actually together with Todoroki. Goten is surprised Todoroki didn't even need his help with the villains. So Goten and Todoroki start making their way over to the central area as well, where a gruesome scene was unfolding. Aizawa, aka Eraserhead, was fighting Shigaraki. However, the Nomu suddenly appears out of nowhere. This Nomu was moving at breakneck speeds, and Aizawa could not even process the Nomu's movements. So just like that, the Nomu completely backhands Aizawa and then sends him flying into the floor before crashing his head on the floor. Aizawa is groaning in pain. This was a painful experience. However, Trunks finally arrives on the scene and immediately goes straight for the Nomu, hitting the Nomu with so much force, cutting the Nomu in half. The Nomu, however, decides to show off one of its ability to regenerate, as it regenerates its arm and legs fully. This gave Trunks some major Super Buu vibes, and there was no way Trunks was gonna let this Nomu survive any longer, especially not after that. So Trunks rushes forward once again, this time even more powered up, and punches the Nomu so hard that Nomu gets completely eradicated right at the spot. Just like that, Trunks has saved the day, and Kurogiri immediately recognizes that they were outmatched and outnumbered. So he and Shigaraki manage to make it off the scene just in time before Trunks can turn their attention to them. Shigaraki is pissed off as he yells at Sensei, telling him why there was such a strong student in Class 1A, and honestly, all for one, is actually pretty intrigued. This was not part of the plan, however, it was an interesting development. And now we move into the video. How will the League of Villains come back from this loss? Will they be able to defeat Trunks' power? Well, these are all questions we'll answer in the next few parts on What If Dragon Ball Super met My Hero Academia. Let's get straight into the video. So following the USJ arc, we obviously have the UA Sports Festival arc. So this arc is gonna undergo major changes. As usual, all of the school arrives at Class 1A just to check out, the class that was attacked by the League of Villains, just to see how special they are. And as usual, Bakugo shrugs all of them off, insulting all of them, stating that he will be the victor of the USJ. And now we move into the actual day of the tournament. President Mike announces the start of the tournament, introducing all the classes including Class 1A. And instead of Bakugo making the speech this time around it's Trunks who ends up making the speech. This is because Trunks actually places first in the UA entrance exam this time instead of Bakugo. As we all know, Bakugo's speech literally triggered the entire audience, with everyone just bemused at Bakugo's cockiness and confidence. So obviously Trunks isn't gonna make the same mistake, so he just makes a simple speech telling everyone good luck. I mean, that's what Bulma told him to say, so he just follows whatever his mother says. So now we move over to the first event of the UA Sports Festival, aka the Obstacle Course Race. Everyone is assembling at the entrance, and Midoriya is hyped up. However, things are not gonna unfold the way the canon did. With Goten and Trunks there, events are gonna change drastically. So Goten immediately rushes out. He registered his quirk as flight and super strength, so he actually has an edge over Trunks in this department. Trunks immediately follows suit. Even though he couldn't fly, he could still run pretty fast. So him and Goten were the first and second people to make their way over. And following behind them is Todoroki, and then after that Bakugo and the rest of Class 1A. They were all gunning for the top position. And we all know Golden and Trunks are just too fast, so they finished the race in like a minute, and that was them holding back. So now everyone's just competing for third place. As usual, Midoriya makes it to the end of the course and puts all the landmines around. Everyone's just confused at what Midoriya is doing. Using a metal board, Midoriya plunges himself onto the landmines, exploding himself over Bakugo and Todoroki's heads. Bakugo and Todoroki are shocked. And keep in mind, this version of Midoriya actually has slight control over One For All. So with slight control over One For All and this gamble, Midoriya was easily able to finish ahead of Bakugo and Todoroki, finishing in third place. Meanwhile, Todoroki and Bakugo end up in 4th and 5th place respectively. Of course, they are unhappy about that. With Golden and Trunks in 1st and 2nd place, Mie Hatsume and Yuga Aoyama actually end up being eliminated from the tournament. This is gonna be a huge event that will affect the next round, because Mie Hatsume was actually part of Midoriya's team, and Aoyama actually made it to the 3rd round in the original canon of events. With the next round being a team event, Midoriya's team comprises of himself, Uraruga, as well as Golden and Trunks. With Golden and Trunks on the team, this is... I mean, we all know what's gonna happen. And so, Aoyama is actually replaced by Tokoyami in this situation. Shinso actually manages to get Tokoyami under his control. And now, the 2nd round commences. With Golden and Trunks on the same team, this round is basically a free pass for Midoriya. So Uraruga makes everyone weightless, and Golden has the ability to fly, so this offers them a lot of mobility. And if anyone comes too close, Midoriya and Trunks are there to intercept them. So this is basically a wash. So we just cover the rest of the teams. Bakugo, as usual, gets his headband taken away by Monoma, but eventually ends up taking back the headbands and getting back the points. Meanwhile, Midoriya's team just flies around evading everyone's attacks. They don't know how to do anything. So eventually we have Bakugo's team placing in 2nd place, followed by Todoroki's team placing in 3rd place, and Shinso's team placing in 4th place. So afterwards, we have the scene where Todoroki talks to Midoriya in private. He recognizes Midoriya's strength and just honestly thinks that Midoriya is like a secret child of All Might. So Bakugo obviously listens in as Todoroki tells Midoriya about his backstory, but a very tragic one indeed. Afterwards, we start the 3rd round of the UA Sports Festival, a series of one-on-one battles. So with Golden and Trunks in the mix, things are gonna change quite drastically here. So as usual, Aoyama Yuga is replaced by Golden, while Mie Hatsume is replaced by Trunks. So now we begin the tournament. So as usual, Midoriya faces off against Shinso right away. Nothing much changes here, so let's just get through it real quickly. As usual, Shinso insults the people who dropped out, the people who relinquished their chance at the tournament, and Midoriya is pissed off at Shinso and then eventually succumbs to Shinso's mind control. However, right before Midoriya steps out of the ring, One For All kicks in, allowing Midoriya to break his fingers, unleashing a huge burst of wind around the arena. The pain allows Midoriya to snap out of Shinso's mind control, and Midoriya looks back at Shinso gritting his teeth. He wasn't gonna say anything anymore. Shinso's mind control was definitely a very dangerous weapon. However, unlike the original canon events where Midoriya and Shinso actually have an exchange, Midoriya actually has control over One For All at 5% here. So Shinso, with his 0 physical capabilities, gets completely obliterated by Midoriya as Midoriya sends Shinso flying out of the ring. Midoriya is the victor of this round. Afterwards, Todoroki beats Zero as usual, causing a huge base yet to be formed in the middle of the arena, causing Zero to be immobilized. Meanwhile, Kirishima manages to beat Tetsutetsu. And then the match between Bakugo and Uraruga begins. Bakugo has much more experience with his quirk here, so Uraruga gets completely wiped out by Bakugo immediately. Uraruga didn't even have a chance to fight back. Now this is where things start changing drastically. 10-year leader faces off against Goten instead of Mei Hatsume. Even though 10-year leader is actually a pretty dominant force. Well, we all know how strong Goten is, so Goten immediately knocks the 10-year leader out. Even with his reciprocal burst, Goten was just faster than 10-year leader and superior to him in every regard. 10-year leader knew this. However, he actually expected himself to do better, though he was carrying the honorable engineer name. Afterwards, the match between Mina Ashido and Trunks begins. Trunks replaces Aima Yuga here, and originally Mina Ashido advances to the second round, but as we all know, similar to Goten, Trunks is just too OP and knocks out Mina Ashido immediately. Now we proceed to the second round of the tournament. The first match is Todoroki versus Midoriya. Now the match begins. Todoroki begins with a huge glacier of ice, which Midoriya barely manages to evade. Even though Midoriya has control over 1-for-all at 5%, he's still pretty unfamiliar with 1-for-all, and Todoroki has the benefit of being able to keep Midoriya at far range, unleashing glaciers of ice non-stop. So the start of the match is pretty much a stalemate, with Midoriya just trying to evade all the ice that Todoroki throws at him, while Todoroki continuously sends ice over and over and over again at Midoriya. Originally, Todoroki's ice was countered by Midoriya just breaking his fingers over and over and over again, utilizing 1-for-all at 100%. However, Midoriya isn't going to do that here. He wasn't going to be this reckless. So, Midoriya isn't actually injured in this version of events. So, he actually manages to close in the gap, eventually actually managing to knock Todoroki pretty far away. Todoroki barely manages to stay in the arena, using ice to secure himself a platform. However, Todoroki knows that this was a losing fight for him. Midoriya was able to close in the gap eventually. However, he himself was running out of stamina. The frostbite from his eyesight was slowly wearing down on him. The reluctance to use his fire sight was definitely costing him this round. However, he wasn't going to give up this easily. However, Midoriya continues on the offensive, trying to push Todoroki to use his fire, continuously shouting at Todoroki, just do it. If he wanted to be a hero, there was no way he could half-heartedly do things. He had to go all out, like the rest of his classmates have been doing. It doesn't matter that Endeavor is the one that trained him. It doesn't matter what Endeavor thinks. He shouldn't let Endeavor bind him, trap him like that. And Todoroki, pushed to the brink of the arena, finally decides to awaken his fire side. Midoriya smiles at Todoroki, and Todoroki smiles back. Todoroki says that he was gonna be a hero. He was gonna be a hero in his own eyes, regardless of what Endeavor thinks. And now Midoriya and Todoroki clash together. Midoriya knew that 5% 1-for-all wasn't gonna be good enough here, so he decides just this once he was gonna use 1-for-all at 100% as he unleashes his full power at Todoroki, while Todoroki unleashes his full power at Midoriya. The two forces clash with the entire tournament arena shaking. And Midoriya barely manages to evade Todoroki's attack. However, Todoroki takes Midoriya's attack head on, causing Todoroki to land right outside the arena. Midoriya also almost slides out of the arena right after Todoroki, however manages to catch himself. Just like that, Todoroki had lost the round, unlike the original canon event where Todoroki had beaten Midoriya. Todoroki slowly walks back to the infirmary to get his injuries treated by a recovery doll. However, suddenly someone stood right in his path. This is none other than Endeavor. Endeavor caused Todoroki a disgrace. However, Todoroki simply ignores Endeavor. Endeavor shouts at Todoroki to embrace his fire side, to use his fire side and finally refine it. If not, there was no way he was gonna beat people like Midoriya. However, Todoroki states that he had to contemplate things more. Even though he had used his fire side today, he still wasn't really open to his fire side just yet. So this is the tournament chart. As you can see, Goten and Trunks have replaced Mei Hatsume and Aoyama Yuga. So from the tournament chart, we know that Goten faces off against Debra Shizaki next, and we know that her binds are basically no match for Goten. Meanwhile, Trunks ends up taking out Tokuyami. However, he remarks that Tokuyami is actually a pretty worthy opponent. Now the real matches began, with Goten faces off against Midoriya. Unfortunately for Midoriya, Goten just too strong, so Goten ends up winning this round. Afterwards, Bakugo faces off against Trunks, and unfortunately for Bakugo, the original winner of the UA Sports Festival, Trunks ends up winning Bakugo, and Bakugo is just even more dismayed. All the training he has been putting in, all the hours and effort, and Trunks just takes him out like he was a clown. So now the final match of the tournament is none other than Goten versus Trunks. So now we cover the fight between Goten and Trunks. The key difference here, despite their relatively similar power levels, is the fact that they have different registered quirks. So Goten has the ability to fly, however Trunks has the only super speed, super strength, as well as ability to shoot ki blasts. So this is a huge disadvantage to Trunks, especially for Goten, who just fly back up into the arena if he's knocked out. However, Trunks doesn't have the luxury here. So Goten immediately flexes off his flying ability, flying around like a monkey in the air, and Trunks is just annoyed. He can't even land a hit on Goten. He can't go into close range because Goten is just in the air, out of reach, and Trunks is slowly getting annoyed. So he ends up shooting a huge ki blast, way too dangerous for this world, towards Goten. Goten, who was smiling, immediately had to dodge right out of the way. Goten knew that he wanted to end this right away as he landed straight towards Trunks. Trunks' mouth. Goten had fell for the bait as he landed straight towards Goten, as well as they both clashed, their powers colliding in the middle of the arena. Both of them were sent flying out of the arena. However, Trunks had no ability to fly, while Goten simply just levitated in the middle of the air. Trunks falls out of the arena, and Goten is the winner of the UA Sports Festival, much unlike their fight during the Bull Saga, where Trunks had won the tournament. So after a brief break, we move back to school where everyone just gathers in Class 1A. Aizawa handles the lesson and shows the number of nominations that Class 1A had gotten from the UA Sports Festival. As usual, Todoroki is still the highest, despite his lackluster performance, while Goten and Trunks are right below him. And then afterwards, his Bakugo and Midoriya are basically tied for the number of nominations. Midoriya is actually pretty surprised here. He didn't know that he had impressed so many people. This is much unlike the original canon events where Midoriya basically got 0 nominations. So afterwards, Midnight comes into class and allows everyone to choose their hero names. And honestly, Goten didn't really have any idea of what hero name he wanted to choose. He thinks of his brother Gohan and his great Saiyan Man identity, and he thinks maybe he could adopt a name similar to that. Well, here's the thing more about that. So as we all know, Stain is making his appearance in Hosu City and has successfully exterminated Ingenium. Stain was trying to find his next target, and instead of going after Native as usual, he has found a much more suitable target. Native was a corrupt hero. However, there was one much more corrupt than Native, one that he needed to exterminate immediately. This was none other than Chi-Chi. As we all know, Chi-Chi is just completely obsessed with money, and the reason that she had entered the heroing industry in this world was so that she could get her hands on more money. So basically, she goes completely against the philosophy of Stain, and Stain immediately wanted to eliminate her. So we move into the next part, where Class 1A students go for their internships. There's only one key difference here though, is the fact that Endeavor had actually extended an invite to Goten and Trunks. He was actually pretty fascinated with these two people. Goten had completely obliterated Midoriya, and Midoriya had actually defeated Todoroki. So he wanted to see what these two would make of. And Goten and Trunks just randomly chose the highest ranked hero on their list, which was both Endeavor. So they are going with Todoroki to Endeavor's agency. Meanwhile, Stain ends up meeting with Shigaraki as usual and makes some threats, leading to Shigaraki releasing the no moves on the city. As usual, Midoriya is separated from Gran Torino as Gran Torino tackles a flying Nomu out of the air in order to save the train carriage full of passengers. And then, meanwhile, while all of this is happening, while all the chaos is in the city, while everyone's in panic mode, Chi-Chi is just looking for the hero to Stain. Yep, he doesn't really care about the nobles. He knows that the other heroes can handle it. And all she wanted to do was to take down Stain. If she could take down Stain, well, this could be a short pathway to success. Her hero ranks could rise very rapidly, and she could earn even more money. Well, we all know what Chi-Chi is obsessed with. And while she's looking for Stain, well, Stain is looking for her as well. So it's not a surprise when they stumble upon each other in the middle of an alley in Hosu City. Chi-Chi now faces off against Stain, and even though she has an edge in speed and power, Stain has more martial arts expertise, as Chi-Chi is still kinda rusty after many years of not training in the martial arts. However, the superior speed and power still gives Chi-Chi a slight edge over Stain, allowing her to land many solid blows on Stain, causing Stain to fly backwards. He was actually pretty injured from the barrage of blows that Chi-Chi had unleashed on him, and he knew that he would not win in a straight out fight. He did not know that Chi-Chi would be this powerful. He had kinda underestimated her. However, suddenly Lida comes out of nowhere, trying to ambush Stain and kill him and get revenge for what he had done to his brother in Guinea. And Stain knew this was an opportunity. Chi-Chi shouts at Lida to get out of the way. However, Stain has made his target known as he lunges straight towards Lida at breakneck speed. Chi-Chi was too far away to save Lida, as now Stain has a knife straight at Lida's throat. Stain threatens Chi-Chi, telling her to surrender and give up herself over to him if she wanted Lida to live. Chi-Chi recognized Lida. Lida was Golden and Trunks' friend, and she did not want any human casualties. She reluctantly lowers her hands, trying to find a way to get out of this situation, and the opportunity presents himself when Midoriya appears out of nowhere as well, lunging straight towards Stain, trying to save Lida in the process. Stain merely manages to dodge out of the way, not knowing there will be another person here in this alley. And Chi-Chi takes this opportunity. It was an opening as she landed straight towards Stain, landing a solid blow on Stain, causing Stain to faint right on the floor. Just like that, Stain was taken out, and Chi-Chi ends up taking all the credit. Well, you know who Chi-Chi is anyways. So as usual, one of the nobles tried to abduct Midoriya. However, Stain, who was supposedly fainted, manages to wake up from his deep slumber and save Midoriya. His pure bloodlust scares all of the heroes on scene, including Chi-Chi, as he faints right away again. So, Chi-Chi actually deeply ponders about this after she goes back home. She was near the top 10 hero rankings, and she knew that there were many more menacing threats out there. If she wanted to advance further, she had to take down even more powerful and scary foes. And she knew that she had to consult Goku if she wanted to get even stronger and take down all these villains, and eventually, her final goal was to become the #1 pro hero. Chi-Chi was currently ranked number 20 in the pro hero rankings, not even far away. And then afterwards, we move into the next arc. Many new young and aspiring villains join the League of Villains due to Stain's message. Following the Stain arc, we move into the next arc, aka the final exams arc. The results of the midterm test was painful for Kaminari and Mina as usual, as they both suck at their academics. However, Guten was not out of the woods either. He was ranked 19th out of all the 21 students in Class 1A, even with Midoriya's tutoring. Guten was never really the brightest when it came to academics, much unlike his brother, Gohan. Trunks on the other hand was doing pretty well, having received a prior education from Bulma in Capsule Corporation, ranking 5th, taking over Todoroki's academic position, pushing Todoroki to 6th. Take note that in this case, there are actually 21 students in Class 1A instead of 20, because Mineta was replaced by 2 students, Goten and Trunks. As usual, Momo Yairuzu, who has the highest grades in the class overall, says that she can help everyone with studying. So, the academic exams pass, and everyone now goes and gathers to take their practical exam. This time, all the UA teachers are gathered around, and everyone is incredibly nervous. When they fighting robots? Nezu then reveals to Class 1A that they'll be not having a battle simulation against robots, but instead against the UA teachers. Everyone was incredibly worried. The UA teachers were all experienced pro heroes. So, how are the matchups like? As usual, Shoto and Momo paired together to face Aizawa, 13 vs Arama and Ochako, President Mike vs Koda and Jiro, Ectoplasm vs Tokoyami and Sui, Snipe vs Nezo and Toru, Cementos vs Rikido and Eijiro, and Power Loader vs Tenya and Eijiro. However, the matchups that are changed are instead of Nezu vs Denki and Mina, we have Nezu vs Denki and Golden, and Midnight vs Mina and Trunks. As we have said before, Golden isn't the brightest, so facing against a smart opponent would probably be a challenge for him. As for Trunks, he was smart but impulsive, and Midnight is actually capable of setting down traps with a quirk, so it might be a test to Trunks' ability to think before he acts. And last but not least, as usual, we have Deku and Bakugo vs All Might. With Deku having one for all at a higher control and Bakugo having also better firepower and skill, All Might is actually up against some tough opponents. However, if you guys have not forgotten, All Might has been training with Goku recently to help strengthen his ki control. So this actually makes him quite powerful in his scrawny and small form as well. So with that, his strength and speed in his buffed up form is even more highly elevated. So in the end, Deku and Bakugo might be the ones that are disadvantaged. So now let the exams begin. So as usual, Aizawa loses to Shoto and Momo, with Koda and Jiro, Tokoyami and Asui, Ochako and Oyama, Tenya and Ojiro all prevailing against their respective teachers. Nothing changes in those tests, so I'm not going to cover it. However, Trunks and Zero vs Midnight plays out very differently. Midnight knows she can't be too cocky here. She witnessed Trunks' immense strength during the UA Sports Festival firsthand and knows that Trunks will definitely beat her in a one-on-one fight. She immediately lays a trap down for Zero and Trunks. Trunks wants to immediately head in to defeat Midnight, but Zero holds him back initially, telling Trunks not to underestimate her. Unfortunately for Zero, Trunks was cocky, and his cockiness eventually prevails over common sense as he rushes straight for Midnight's key signature. However, Midnight immediately let loose a trap, smoke bombs that immediately cover up the entire area. However, this wasn't normal smoke, it was pink colored mist, Midnight's quirk, and Trunks couldn't even make it to Midnight before he collapses and faints. However, Trunks' rush of speed immediately dispersed the entire area, allowing Midnight's pink mist to clear the area, and even while almost unconscious, Trunks could still directly dodge out of Midnight's way due to his ability to sense ki. Zero then comes in to save the day as he binds Midnight before throwing Trunks towards the exit. The adrenaline rush helps to wake Trunks up a little bit, so he runs straight out, allowing them the victory over Midnight. Meanwhile, Nezu vs Goten and Mina also doesn't play out as normal. Originally, Nezu completely dominates both Mina and Kaminari with his superior insight and planning. However, in this case, Goten's quirk isn't what it seemed. Even Nezu couldn't predict that Goten has the ability to sense ki, so Goten could immediately find out Nezu's location, winning the fight for both him and Mina. Now I left the most interesting fight for last, Deku and Bakugo vs All Might. And this is where we'll leave off for now. How will things unfold? Well, these are questions we'll answer in the next part on What is Dragon Ball Super Met My Hero Academia. Thank you all so much for watching.